Welcome to the third video supporting Chapter 7 of my iOS book for absolute beginners. In the previous videos in this we've taken a look at some controls such as the slider, and in this video we're going to take a look at the switch control and see how to use the switch control. So let's get started. We'll create a new project. It'll be a single view application. This single view application will make sure that the product name, we're going to set it to be, let's call it switch control test. And make sure your organization name, company identifier, you can put whatever they are in there, but class prefix should be empty and devices should be set to iPhone. Click next and you'll be asked where do you want to store it. Just put it on the desktop and make sure Git is unchecked as usual and click create. So this will take us into our single view application and we're going to edit the storyboard. I'm going to edit the storyboard to add a switch control. So the switch control we can find in the controls palette simply by typing switch. And we can drag and drop the switch control onto the page like this. Now you'll notice that the switch control doesn't have a label, so we need to put a label with it, and we're also going to put a label for the output. So if I put a label here, and for example I'll call this, we'll drag a label in. I'll call this my first switch control, something like that. And resize it so the text fits. And then I'll add another label and I'll set this label to the switch is on and just size that appropriately. So here's my first switch control and the label the switch is on. So what I want to do is when I click the switch control to move it on or off, then we'll change the value of this to the switch is on or the switch is off. Okay, how are we going to do that is we set up an outlet and we set up an action as we've done before. To do this we open the assistant, make sure the assistant is on viewcontroller.h, and then I'm going to drag, control drag my switch. First of all, to create an outlet I'm going to call it SWT switch, and then I'm also going to create an action for the switch called switch changed. Oops, I should set that to be an action called switch change whenever the value changes, and I'll connect that. And then finally my label where I'm going to say the switch is on or the switch is off is an outlet, and I'll call that LBL output. So now I have properties for the switch and the label, and I have an action set up for the switch. So let's go and write my code. So I have switch changed, and the switch change of course is going to get fired because I set up the action that way whenever the value of the switch changes. So my switch was called SWT switch. Now this has a property called on and a property which if that property on is set to true then the switch is on, and if it's off then it's set to false. So if I say if underscore SW switch dot on, that's a Boolean value, so if it's true then this entire expression within the graphics within the brackets will be true. So I can just say that, or I could say equals equals true like that, but it's just more convenient to say if SW switch is on, then my LBL output dot text equals the switch is on, and strings have to be prefixed with an at in Objective-C. Otherwise, if it's not on, it's got to be off. It's only got two states, so I can say LBL output dot text equals at the switch is off. Save this and run it, and let's see what our app looks like. Simulator's launching. Here it is. This is my first switch control. The switch is on, the switch is off, the switch is on, the switch is off. So very simply like that I can add switches to my application and I can check their value if I want to make settings or whatever it is on the application. So that's it. Very simple, very straightforward example. And in the next video we'll take a look at the stepper control.